We're all here to serve another human, another individual. We have to provide the best service that we can. And I think as, you know, as a Lendsetter, as mortgage broker that you guys do, you guys give hope for people who want to be a first time homeowner. And that's their whole dream, right? So the dream for my patients, they want to be able to walk again. They want to be able to, you know, perhaps play Division I sport, right? So we are obligated to provide them with the highest quality care, no matter what you do.
You just said something there that it actually, I was thinking about this earlier as Dan was talking at the mastermind, and it really goes back to mission. You know, when we got really clear about, we actually don't, I mean, we serve the loan officer, yes, but we're actually serving the homeowner through the loan officer. And, you know, it became, our mission became helping everyone with ownership, right? And so the mission behind that is you know, helping everyone with ownership, Americans with home ownership, our clients with ownership of their business, and our team with ownership of their life and their growth within the company. And so I feel like that mission was really big. And I was actually thinking back to when I did life insurance. This is, I mean, we're talking, this is about a little over a decade ago. And I remember I was out on an appointment, and I used to take, you know, when you sell insurance, and most people that sell insurance, and this could be, you know, insert mortgage, real estate, whatever, if you sell something, but you're not very attached to the end result, and insurance is very easy to be distanced from that, because if you're sold the policy, but you've never handled a claim, you've never been there for somebody who needed what you sold them, you kind of get kind of disassociated from it. But I had this one appointment, and I was probably 24 at the time. I had this one appointment with this guy, and he was very dismissive. And this is in a phase where I was focused on life insurance. And I was talking about getting him, his wife, both of their kids, life insurance, supplemental health insurance, stuff like that. And super hard to sell. And he was very resistant. And I mean, it was almost combative, because like when I see kids in the house, or when I sold insurance, when I would see kids in the house, I'd go to bat, right? Because I'm like, dude, that you need this. Like, you have nothing, you like, that's unacceptable. And he practically kicked me out. It was the whole Zig Ziglar, like, I got to pack my shit up, and I'm like, you know, like leaving. And I remember I tried to follow up a few more times, and he was like, I need more time. I'm not thinking about it. He's a union guy, you know, blue collar, you know, literally we had to move an 18 rack off the table to do the presentation. Right. So that's where the priorities were. And anyways, he actually, about, it was like a week and a half later, he got hit by a train. And while he was thinking about it.
Wow.
And it changed how I sold insurance, because in that moment, up to that moment, I was just selling policies. But when I had to go to a funeral and there was nothing to take, because I've been on both ends. I've had people that I've served in life insurance that have died, and I delivered a check. And then I've had that person that died and there was nothing. And it changed it for me, because it became personal. Like, I can't let this happen to another family. I can't leave your house without something. You have to have something. There's too much here to lose if I leave empty-handed. If I don't do my job, this whole bloodline can have to pay the price for your decision, right? And so it became personal. It was like a mission. And so, you know, the interesting part about that, and it wasn't my goal at the time, but it was a natural byproduct, was my conversion rate after that went through the roof, because it was different. I was invested in every home. I cared. I was actually connected to, like, I wanted them to win. I wanted them to have the result. I wasn't worried about policy counts, premium anymore. I was just worried about delivering value, the actual thing, right? And I was thinking back to that, and I was like, man, it was weird to think about how much, I mean, we're talking a lot of change in my conversion percentage. Like, it changed the way I looked at the business, the way I showed up differently. Cause I'm like, dude, if I don't do this, is another family gonna, you know, and it's like, no, not on my watch. Right. And so it was interesting, because I actually look at that for our clients. I look at that for the loan officers that we serve. And it's like, if you don't put people into homes today, if you aren't like hell-bent on that, like it's life or death, and their bloodline, their future depends on you actually getting them to do this and complete this process, what's going to end up happening is they go, you know what, we'll just keep renting. It's hard right now. It's complicated. And they'll push it off. And guess what happens in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? House values go up. Guess what? Their income's best case scenario the same, maybe incrementally better, most likely not outpacing inflation. So now 6, 12, 18 months later, not only did you not serve them originally, you've now guaranteed them to be in a worse spot and less likely to get into a house because you just didn't want to go the extra mile.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if that level of ownership, that level of connection to I have to get this done or else people are depending on me, people need me to deliver, there would be more people in homes. And like you said, there would be more people that are able to walk again, right? It's like if more people took their craft like personal, like serious to that level.
I mean, it's so funny you mentioned that, man, because I just had a serious conversation with my wife about this, is I see like people are now detached from the job that they do. And I think if you go back and you read any study that they say like end of life study, there's like, oh, what do you regret? Most of the time people regret on the decision they didn't make, but there are more people regretting quitting job earlier because now they have nothing to look forward to. Back in the day, if you look at any German engineering, especially cars, especially if you go AMG, people would put initial on the engine that they build by hand because they took so much pride in that, right? And back in the bartering days where you and I would just trade, like if your service is not good or the thing you produce is not good because you have no ownership, no pride in what you're doing, I wouldn't take it. Right. So as soon as we introduce money, now that's like change. You're just doing the work for money. You're not doing the work because you want to do the work. I really have a personal story with this, especially to follow along with what you just said. So, when we moved here, my parents started a restaurant. After the restaurant, they're like, oh, we're living the American dream. The next dream for them was to own a home, right? During this time, I was away at University of Maryland getting my bachelor. So I was out like building my own life. They still working at a restaurant with my sister. And they all just working nonstop, just trying to get a home. And they just like, oh, our credit's not good enough. Who's going to take us on this and that, right? So they just end up keep renting homes after homes. And about 2019, my dad suddenly passed away out of nowhere. And the one thing that I always knew that he always wanted to be able to have a place that he called his own home. But there weren't anyone there that was going to help him because, again, as an immigrant, who was going to take you on, right? As far as credits and all of that stuff. And we just didn't know. Like, I mean, I was at the city center, I guess, or the town, like with my parents, trying to Google and learn how to register for a business. We all were doing together as a family. So just figure it out. So for them, like there weren't any representation. So if you guys are listening out there and, I hope this story resonate with some of you guys, because you do more than just getting people in a home. Because another thing too, like I like to bring up my story that I wasn't born here, but that doesn't mean I'm not lucky. The fact that my parents decided to move to the US, I hit the lotto. Yeah. Right. The fact I have two parents, I hit the lotto again. And the fact I had a roof over my head, I hit the lotto.
Yeah.
So again, homes mean so much to other people. And you look at all statistically speaking, like we work with a lot of inner city kids and we give them scholarships, especially people who can't afford our services, and usually come from a single parents' household, or they don't have homes, or they live in projects, right? So this is important.
When we went to the Philippines for McBilly's wedding, and I also went there because we have an office there with, I don't know, 30, 35 people there now. It was, I don't want to say it was culture shock because I've spent enough time around Filipino people and I'm familiar enough with it, but like to see it with your own eyes and to see, obviously there's plenty of people there doing well, doing fine, but the floor of poverty in a place like that, the Philippines, Thailand, you name it, right? It's so much lower, right? And so when you talk about having a roof over your head, like quite literally, that's not a thing for a lot of, I don't know, because even homelessness in America, it's like there's shelters, there's places, there's covered places, right? There are not covered places when we went to the Philippines, and so it's like, it was interesting because it's like, I haven't traveled the world a lot. So my exposure is really American exposure. And there's a lot of, there's a wide gap in that, but it's like, when you leave the country and you see other people, it's like, you realize how pivotal homeownership is, how it really is a milestone. And obviously, mortgage people, real estate people, they know that, but do they live it? It's a different level, right? Because it is the difference between, it's McBilly and I always talk about the number one piece of data that will determine the quality of the relationships, the quality of the education, the quality of your life, and the opportunities you have is your zip code. Literally change one number on that and everything can change.
Yeah.
Right. And where you're located matters a lot. Right. And so the house is not just about the four walls and the roof, but also the community in which that's in. And so I think that what you just hit on is huge, because, it's like home ownership is, I think to an extent we take it for granted. We know it's valuable, food, water, shelter. Right. But like, when's the last time you really didn't have it? Right. You might not have had the one you wanted. Right. But you got an apartment, you got even a shelter. Right. There's something. And so being able to give somebody their own, place to call home.